On the night of April 14th, 1912, the most luxurious ship ever built was crossing the icy waters of the North Atlantic. People called it the ship that couldn't sink. It was enormous. It had grand staircases, elegant dining halls, a swimming pool, electric elevators, and comforts that most people on land had never experienced. For many passengers, stepping aboard the Titanic felt like stepping into the future. The ship had left England just days earlier on its maiden voyage to New York. More than 2,200 passengers and crew were on board. Wealthy businessmen, immigrants searching for a new life, families on vacation, and workers all shared the same destination. Everything seemed perfect. As the Titanic sailed westward, several warnings arrived from other ships. They reported large icebergs drifting directly in the Titanic's path. These messages reached the bridge, but the ocean was calm, the sky was clear, and there was no immediate sign of danger. That calmness would soon become a problem. Usually, waves crashing against icebergs make them easier to spot. But that night, the sea was unusually smooth. The dark ocean looked like black glass. At around 11:40 p.m., two lookouts high above the deck noticed something directly ahead. An iceberg. It appeared suddenly out of the darkness. The warning bell rang 3 times. The bridge was alerted. The order was given to turn the ship and reverse the engines. But the Titanic was simply too large and moving too fast. Seconds later, the iceberg scraped along the ship's starboard side. The impact didn't feel dramatic to most passengers. Some barely noticed it. A few felt a slight vibration. Others joked about it and returned to their conversations. But below the waterline, something catastrophic had happened. The iceberg had torn open multiple sections of the ship's hull. Water immediately began rushing into the front compartments. At first, many crew members believed the damage could be controlled. After all, the Titanic had been designed with watertight compartments. The idea was simple. If one compartment flooded, doors would seal it off and the ship would remain afloat. But the damage was worse than anyone imagined. Instead of flooding 1 or 2 compartments, the iceberg had damaged several. As water filled the front of the ship, it began spilling from one compartment into the next, like water overflowing from a row of connected buckets. The ship's designer, Thomas Andrews, inspected the damage personally. After calculating the flooding, he reached a terrifying conclusion. The Titanic was going to sink, and there was nothing anyone could do to stop it. The captain soon realized the same thing. The ship had less than 3 hours left. While passengers continued enjoying their evening, crew members quietly prepared lifeboats. The problem was shocking. There were nowhere near enough lifeboats for everyone on board. At the time, maritime regulations were outdated. The Titanic legally carried the required number of lifeboats, but those rules had been created before ships became so large. Even if every lifeboat was filled completely, thousands of people would still be left behind. As the situation became more serious, crew members began waking passengers and instructing them to put on life jackets. Many people refused. The ship looked perfectly stable. The lights were still on. The music was still playing. The idea that this giant vessel could disappear beneath the ocean seemed impossible. Some passengers were reluctant to leave the warmth and safety of the ship for a small wooden boat hanging over freezing water. As a result, several of the first lifeboats left half empty. Valuable time and precious space were lost. Meanwhile, distress signals were sent into the night. The Titanic's radio operators worked desperately, calling for help from nearby ships. Some vessels received the messages, but they were too far away to arrive in time. As minutes passed, the front of the ship sank lower and lower into the ocean. Passengers now realized the danger was real. Panic began spreading across the decks. Families searched for loved ones. Crew members struggled to maintain order. The freezing Atlantic water continued rising through the ship. Then came one of the most haunting scenes in maritime history. The ship's band continued playing music. As chaos unfolded around them, the musicians performed to help calm frightened passengers. The exact songs played during those final moments remain debated, but their courage became legendary. Shortly after 2 a.m., the Titanic was in its final stage. The bow was deep underwater. The stern rose high into the air. People clung to railings as the angle became steeper and steeper. Furniture, equipment, and loose objects slid across the decks. Then the unimaginable happened. The enormous stress placed on the ship became too much. the Titanic broke apart. For many years, survivors disagreed about whether the ship split in two, but when the wreck was discovered decades later on the ocean floor, it confirmed that the ship had indeed broken apart before sinking. The front section plunged toward the bottom of the Atlantic. The rear section briefly settled back onto the water before also disappearing beneath the waves. At approximately 2:20 a.m. on April 15, 1912, the Titanic was gone. More than 1,500 people lost their lives. The freezing water was deadly. Temperatures were so cold that survival time was often measured in minutes. Those who managed to reach lifeboats watched in horror as the lights of the great ship vanished forever into the darkness. Hours later, rescue ships finally arrived. They found lifeboats scattered across the ocean carrying exhausted survivors. Of the more than 2,200 people aboard, only around 700 survived. The disaster shocked the entire world. Investigations revealed a combination of factors: excessive speed in iceberg-filled waters, insufficient lifeboats, missed opportunities, and overconfidence in technology. The tragedy changed maritime safety forever. New rules required enough lifeboats for everyone on board. Ice patrols were established to monitor dangerous waters, and radio communication standards became much stricter. More than a century later, the Titanic still captures people's imagination, not just because it was a ship, but because it was a symbol of human ambition, a masterpiece of engineering that seemed unstoppable. Yet on a calm, cold night in the Atlantic, a single iceberg was enough to prove that even the greatest creations are not beyond the power of nature. And that's how the Titanic sank.